Am I the asshole for having my cousin thrown out of my wedding for not wearing white? I, 28F, got married 2 weeks ago and I am still getting backlash from what happened, so I'm here to see if I really am in the wrong. My husband and I decided to have a child-free white wedding where the guests are in white. I personally don't like to wear white because I always feel that no matter what I'm doing, something always manages to get me dirty. So, my dress was not white but blue. This all started when I decided who would be in my bridal party. I chose 2 friends from middle school, one from high school, my 16-year-old niece and my cousin. Since I was having a child-free wedding, I didn't want anyone under the age of 18, but my whole family knows my niece is my one exception. When we went to the dress shop to pick out dresses, I informed my bridesmaids they would be in black to match the groomsmen. Everyone was on board with the color, and we found a dress that fit everyone, and the top could be adjusted for comfort. Everything was going great until my cousin asked why my niece was getting the same dress, so I told her she was a bridesmaid. Cousin said she assumed she was there for a flower girl dress since I'm not inviting anyone under 18, and if I needed another bridesmaid her daughter could do it. I told cousin no, and her daughter is a guest. Things got awkward but we were done, so we left, and I took my niece out and explained she was a bridesmaid and that wasn't changing. Everything was going great after that until bridal dress shopping. At that point I had done a lot of research to find dress style I liked and who had the color I wanted or could get it. I went to the appointment with my bridesmaids, my parents, and in-laws. Everything was fine, but I didn't like anything I picked until my mom found a dress I didn't think I would like but ended up being the one and they could get it in my color. We were all happy until my cousin said something that made me snap. She said that I should pick a dress that made me look prettier and not as fat. I blacked out and said a bunch of things I shouldn't have, then kicked her out of the bridal party and the wedding. A few days later my aunt, who I love and respect, called to ask for my cousin to be invited as a guest. I did feel guilty about the things I said, so I said yes. Fast forward to the wedding and it was my turn to walk out, and the first thing I see out the corner of my eye is gold. My cousin sat in a middle row on the aisle in a gold strapless dress. How she looked! I wanted to cry, but we continued on, and once we were finished, I told my wedding planner to have her kicked out and kept away. A few think she could have stayed, but others think she should have followed the dress code. My aunt thinks I could have asked her to leave instead of having security throw her out and embarrass her. Am I the asshole for throwing my cousin out for wearing gold, not white? I decided to have a child-free white wedding where the guests are in white. I personally don't like to wear white because I always feel that no matter what I'm doing, something always manages to get me dirty. I just can't get past the combination of this narrow dress code and your acknowledgement that it sucks. I blacked out and said a bunch of things I shouldn't have. I do not think blacking out is what you think it is. I personally don't like to wear white. Oh, I have a great idea. Let's force everyone else to wear white if they want the privilege of coming to my wedding. Yeah, that's a bit of logic I can't get my head around. Cousin is an asshole also. It sounds like she was being deliberately spiteful. However, I would absolutely not attend a wedding that required me to wear white. Your demand of your guests was unreasonable. You are the asshole. Just based on this, my husband and I decided to have a child-free white wedding where the guests are in white. I personally don't like to wear white because I always feel that no matter what I'm doing, something always manages to get me dirty. So, my dress was not white but blue. You hate wearing white, so you required that all your guests wear white. And one person disobeyed and got escorted by security? Seriously? Absolutely, you are the asshole. Get over yourself. You are not the center of the universe. Not the asshole. Good God, I do not understand the favorite pastime of this sub-passing judgment on tangential information that is not related to the question just because Op comes off as unlikable. Who cares if Op is a hypocrite about wearing white? That's not what she's asking about. I say not the asshole because cousin knew the dress code and intentionally violated it out of what can only be assumed as spite. She was in the bridal party so and knew the vision that Op has for her wedding. So I don't think having her kicked was an issue. You are the asshole. I don't pretend to be an expert on wedding etiquette, but I think you have the right to tell guests not in the actual wedding party what they cannot wear. But I do not think you can tell guests what they must wear. Am I the asshole for canceling my wife's b-day plans? So my birthday is coming up. Last year, my wife threw a big surprise party for me. I am not a big birthday person. Didn't complain but saw it coming and didn't really want it. Pretended to be surprised and had a good time regardless and appreciated her. However, it was way too expensive. I told her next year I don't want to spend any money. I'm more of a low-key guy. Ordering in food and watching a movie would be ideal for me. She also does not make much money right now, so we really rely on my paycheck. She's almost done law school. I really didn't enjoy paying the credit card bill after last year's party. I will go all out for her. I enjoy gift giving and planning things. However, I just don't want her to spend money on me. If I need something, I'll just buy it. Anyways, I find out she planned a whole day in the city 2 hours away at a fancy restaurant. This means I gotta drive 2 hours there and 2 hours back. She's scared of driving in the city. She also bought expensive tickets to a show and a few gifts. Am I an asshole for saying to cancel the whole thing? I prefaced weeks ago to not spend too much money on anything. We have 2 expensive trips coming, Italy for her graduation. If she already knows you don't think these things then does them anyways, then she's clearly disrespecting your wishes emo. You should tell her to cancel and be firm about this. Tell her if she really cares about her day then you guys should celebrate by doing things that make you comfortable, not things that she wants. It's kind of really that simple. She wants to party and have a good time. Your birthday is just a reason. This is not for you. This is for her enjoyment. You are just a reason in an ATM. Not the asshole. You're either not expressing yourself strongly enough or she's not a good listener. I'm sure she means well, but you need to just plainly say, I don't want to do that. Not the asshole. I told her next year I don't want to spend any money. I prefaced weeks ago to not spend too much money on anything. It's your birthday, not hers. So, you ended up paying for your own surprise party and I'm inferring this gift will also entail the use of your credit card? No. If she can only afford $50 for your birthday, you get a $50 homemade dinner for your birthday. Or a picnic or whatever. You shouldn't be paying for your own birthday, and alternatively, if you are gonna pay, you set the spending limit and activities. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I think in the future just say no surprises and let's plan the birthday together, or at least have her run the plans past you first. I'm not big on birthdays either, and it took me a while to realize that people celebrate birthdays the way they were brought up and they like to keep the tradition alive. So I learned that birthdays are more than just for the receiver. It allows the family to celebrate the person and spend special time with them. Am I the asshole for not getting rid of my cats after a hurricane? In July, Hurricane Beryl came through and I-25 miraculously never lost power. Because of this I kept my door open to my friends and their family who were less lucky. I had no issue until my friend, who we'll call Joe, M25, came with his girlfriend Emily, mid-20s. I have 2 cats, an older cat who stayed under my bed the whole time and a 1-year-old who loves people. My cat was out and about giving kisses and jumping from lap, but if you pushed her off she was good about just moving on. This became an issue as Joe is allergic to cats, runny nose and red itchy eyes type of allergic. He didn't bring this up until I noticed him avoiding my cat and asked if he was okay, which is when he told me but that he didn't want to be a bother. That he knew I had cats and still made the choice to take up my offer. I told him it was no bother and offered meds and to lock my cat in my bedroom. Joe insisted it would be fine just as long as she wasn't crawling all over him. The rest of the people over kept her occupied and Joe just has a few sniffles. I offered a few more times to lock up my cat but he insisted it was fine and I had already done enough. Emily was quiet and made no effort to keep my cat away from Joe if she came near. Fast forward and I was at a barbecue with Emily and Joe. The topic of Beryl comes up and Joe's makes a joke about how thanks to me the hardest part for him was having a cute cat right in front of him that he wasn't allowed to pet. Emily is glaring as he says it. Someone asks if she's okay and she just goes off on me. That I was cruel to force Joe into an allergic reaction when they were all already suffering. That I didn't even care about helping people since I was so willing to put someone between being out during a hurricane or anaphylactic. Joe is standing there with a look I could only describe as gobsmacked. Another friend mentions that I offered to lock my cat in my bedroom multiple times and that Joe insisted it was fine. At this Emily starts again that of course he did because who would tell me to lock my cat up when I was already helping them and that I should never have even asked and put him that situation. That the gracious thing would have been to just lock both my cats in my car while everyone was over. At the idea of locking my cats in my car post-hurricane my heart sinks and everyone gets more upset at Emily, resulting in a huge back and forth. One friend accuses Emily of not doing anything to help Joe, and that she could have asked me to lock the cat up if she felt that strongly. She shot back that shouldn't have had to because she wasn't the host and I should have been more respectful and on top of things like that. After a few minutes Joe snaps out of his apparent shock and drags Emily away, apologizing for her and insisting that he had no issue, it wasn't that serious, and is still grateful. Emily finally leaves but yells out again how cruel I was for putting my cats above everyone else in need. Keep your cats in your house. Keep Emily out of your house. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your friend Emily sounds unhinged. You sure you guys are friends? Not the asshole. I like your cats more than I like drama queen Emily. Don't worry. You're not the asshole and I bet Emily won't be around much longer. Joe sounds like too good of a guy to put up with an insane girlfriend anymore. Not the asshole. Throwing words around like anaphylactic proves how unhinged she is. The word doesn't think what she thinks it does. Not the asshole. You were more than accommodating, even offering to put your cats in another room. Joe said it was unnecessary, and appears to be incredibly appreciative of you. Emily is the asshole for spitting on your generosity, inserting herself where she doesn't belong, and for even thinking that locking cats in a car is in any way acceptable. Would I be the asshole for not deleting my son's baby pictures? My 45F son, 18M, has transitioned from a female to a male about 4 or 5 years ago. I, myself, thought that it's a little too early to start transitioning, but I didn't say anything and decided to be supportive. After all, that's my child. Anyway, a few days ago, my son saw me scrolling through my camera roll and yelled at me because I was tearing up at his baby pictures, where he was still dressed extremely femininely and was obviously a girl. I wasn't crying at it because he isn't a girl anymore, I was crying because time flies. He told me that by me keeping those photos as memories, I am totally disregarding the fact that he is no longer a girl and I am transgender phobic. Info. At the time I was looking at the pictures, my son wasn't near. I would never look at those around him because that's a big boundary of his. Edit. I don't appreciate the backlash on my son. Please keep those harsh opinions off of him. My heart was saddened by this because that is the last thing I will ever be. I have open arms to anyone and everyone. I personally believe that it's not fair for me to delete the photos because those are some of the only memories I have of him when he was an infant, kid. Please give me some feedback if I'm the asshole or not, and whether I should delete them. My daughter started transitioning at 18, MTF. I still have her baby pics and enjoy looking at them occasionally, but they also make me sad because that little boy doesn't exist anymore. I would never delete them, and she'd never ask, but I also don't share them. In Ta, even if you were crying over the change, that's allowed too. You support your son, but it's normal to grieve what you lost too. But what it could comes down to is that you're allowed to keep your memories. You son is a young man. 18 years ago he was a baby, but that changed. Looking at baby pictures doesn't make him a baby now. Looking at pictures when he presented a girl doesn't make him a girl now. I think it's fair that he request that you not look at those photos around him because he's allowed to be upset by them. I think it's unreasonable to demand you delete those photos just because they upset him. But given that he wants you to delete them rather than just keep them away from him, that's unreasonable. Don't delete them, they're your memories. I would highly recommend you back them up though, or at least password lock your reels. Some kids are a bit too entitled and won't hesitate to resort to self-help to get what they want. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but as they are so early in their transition, put those things that remind them of the past away for safekeeping. If you want to look at them, be kind and try not to reminisce when they are present, so that they won't feel uncomfortable. One day, they may even ask for a few of them. He may have just misunderstood your reaction. I think when things have calmed down, have a chat with him, that you weren't crying about the loss of his femininity, but were just teary about memories. That you cherish the photos because they are of him as a child, the timeline of his growing up, which includes who he is today. Keep them, he may value them one day, but if he's uncomfortable with them, keep them out of sight. And tell him that you're sorry if you made him feel like you wished you were still like that little girl. Apologies go a long way to show love and acceptance. As a trans person, please don't delete them. We'll never feel okay with what we were born as, but that's not a excuse to delete memories. That little human is still the human you raised today, they just made their choices as a human that led them to a new exciting path. It always hurts for us to have that sense of not being put together, fully in a reminder when we aren't expecting it stings, but who they were means something as well. He's still young, he'll mentally even out about things eventually. Especially if he is on testosterone. He's just going through a secondary puberty as well, just the flip side edition lol.